So now, ladies, we're going to talk about absolute value of complex expressions, okay? So one thing to understand, first of all, absolute value is a distance. It's a distance from zero, okay? With this absolute value, when we're talking complex numbers, we're talking like basically like the zero is the origin, okay? So our distance from the origin. Think about the one problem that we had just recently graphed of the -2 plus 2i. So when I go to graph that, I go left 2 and up 2. Well, the absolute value is this distance here, okay? It's the hypotenuse of the right triangle, and I know how much you guys love geometry, so the absolute value is the distance from the origin to the point. So we need to talk about how to actually find that. So because it is a distance, we actually will be using Pythagorean theorem. Again, like we just, geometry does kind of pop up here, okay? And so let's talk about finding the absolute value. Okay, so if I want to know the absolute value of 3 minus 4i, so it's written in a plus bi form. So first of all, let's just kind of give a visual. Okay, so I'm at 3 and -4i. Let me make sure I do it right. So here I went 3, here I went -4i, right? Okay, but I'm actually wanting to know this hypotenuse. So I'm actually, to find the absolute value, I'm going to have to basically do Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so I'm going to have 3 squared plus -4 squared. Don't worry about the I. Okay, not a big deal. And that equals c squared. So 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, and that equals c squared. And then 9 plus 16 is 25. And then I need to take the square root. Now, normally, when you take the square root, you have to think, oh, well, I need the +5 and -5. Well, this is a distance, so it is just going to be +5. So the absolute value of 3 minus 4i is 5. Okay? Now let's look at another one. I want to know the absolute value of 6i. Well, think about this. Okay? So I don't go, there's no A, so I don't go anywhere right or left, and so my point is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So here it doesn't form a right triangle or anything like that. So let me just show you the math portion of it, and then we're going to kind of discuss. So normally it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, there is no a, so that's 0 squared. Plus b is 6 squared equals c squared. So 0 squared is 0. 6 squared is 36, and that equals c squared. So I get 36 equals c squared, and then I'm going to take the square root. So I get 6 equals c, which is the absolute value. So the absolute value is 6. So the big thing to note is really the distance from the origin right here is 6. Okay, so whether it's, whether you have the complex term or the, regular term, if it's on one of the axes, it is like the absolute value, the distance to the origin is just how far you went. So that is just something to kind of keep in mind. Okay, so then I've got one more problem, one more type of problem that I want to look at. I've got two examples for it, is talking about the additive inverse. Okay, just in case we need to solve any equations or do anything like that. You will be asked every now and again, what's the additive inverse of this or that or the other thing? So it's good to always review. But if I have something like -3 plus 4i, and I need to find the additive inverse of it. Well, the additive inverse is just the opposite signs that they are now. So that -3 now becomes a +3. The +4i now becomes a -4i. So I get 3 minus 4i. Okay, so that would be the additive inverse of that. So if we look at the additive inverse of -6 minus 2i. So the additive inverse, I would add the opposite. And so that would end up being a +6 plus 2i. And that would be the additive inverse of that. So at this point, you are good to go.